President Joe Biden in America this weekend became the first sitting U.S. president to formally recognize the Armenian Genocide, the systematic killings and forced deportations of hundreds of thousands of Armenian civilians carried out by the Ottoman Empire during World War I. The recognition from the Biden administration came on Armenian Remembrance Day by recognizing the genocide, the intentional ethnic slaughter of more than 1 million Armenians. Biden is following through on a campaign promise, but the move had also been controversial. It was put off by previous administrations in deference to NATO ally Turkey's staunch opposition to that term. Even Israel does not recognize the Turkish actions as genocide. The foreign ministry this weekend said only it recognizes the, quote, terrible suffering and tragedy of the Armenian people. But again, Israel stopping short of using the term genocide. With us now is Diana GALSTYAN, a board member with the Union of Armenian Communities in Israel. Diana, thank you so much for being with me. Explain to me why this is clearly genocide.
Yeah, of course it's a genocide because it was a systematic killing of Armenians, and 1.5 million of Armenians were killed. And we have a lot of evidences, and we have a lot of pictures, and still Turkey denies that fact. And that's why it's very important that the U.S. Finally recognize the genocide as a genocide. And we really, really hope that other countries and other nations will keep in line with the U.S. and will join and will recognize the Armenian genocide as a genocide. Because as we see it, it's not only the history of the Armenians, it's actually the very dark page in the history of the mankind.
Let's listen now to a soundbite from the Armenian ambassador to the United States after the declaration. Here's more.
This moment means a lot for me in person and to the Armenian people in the world, to the Armenian American community, to the people of Armenia and worldwide Armenian American communities. This means an end to the long history of denialism. This means that the U.S. is being on the side of the justice of human rights, and that this means to me in person that justice will prevail and humanity will prevail.
Diana, so what is your reaction then to the fact that Israel still refuses to use that word? They will not recognize this as genocide.
Yeah, well, it's a shame. And I think it's indefensible that Israel still doesn't recognize the Armenian genocide. And we all know the official excuse, the political issues, political interests. But in my opinion, this is not an excuse, because as I see it, it's not about politics. It's about morality. And that's why I think that Israel had to be the first country to recognize the Armenian genocide. Not only because we have, as nations, we have very similar tragic history, not only because the Jewish people underwent the Holocaust, but also because, as we know, there are a lot of evidences that Nazis actually learned from Ottomans. They used the same methods. So a recognition of the Armenian genocide is to recognize also the past, the prehistory of the Holocaust. That's why I think that Israel must recognize Armenian Holocaust and must educate the children about the Armenian Holocaust and genocide. And that doesn't happen here. The majority of Israelis, they don't even know what the Armenian genocide is. This is a tragedy.
The fact that you mentioned, it's so important to recognize the truth about the past and what really happened. In your mind, how can this influence the future? Obviously, there is no Ottoman Empire anymore. We now have nations that we're dealing with Turkey and modern-day Armenia and the NATO alliance and Israel. It's very complicated geopolitically. By this recognition, how does it change the future?
As I said, as I see it, it's not about politics and it's not about nations. It's about mankind. It's about our own history as human beings. And we know we live in very problematic times. They are still wars. It was actually a war in Armenia in this September. And if we don't remember our past, the same crimes will happen again. So we have to know the history. We have to condemn the crimes against humanity if we want to try to prevent this kind of crimes in the future. It's very simple.